wanted to end with someone who is a special treasure to the country, to our movement and to freedom. There's no one who works harder and longer for the cause than Michele Bachmann. We love her. We're so glad she's in Washington fighting the good fight and also across this country. Please give a warm, rousing welcome to our friend and inspiration, Michele Bachmann!
And I want to read a quote to you from the Wall Street Journal that tells us how important this is. It's this: the powers that the Obama administration is claiming change the structure of the American government as it has existed for over 225 years. It is not an exaggeration to say that the Supreme Court's answers may constitute a hinge in the history of American liberty and limited enumerated government. The justices must decide if those principles still mean something. Let me ask you, is James Madison, who wrote the Constitution of the United States, are the principles of limited government with the enumerated powers, are those still relevant? I'm not sure if they can hear you. One more time. I think even Nancy Pelosi heard you. I think Harry Reid heard you. Okay, now a little louder, because 1600 Pennsylvania needs to hear you. Oh, Mr. President, yet you told us you were the great uniter. You will not divide the American people from our Constitution. Because we see before us a bill that will change the United States forever. Because in the future, you see, we will not be electing a president, we'll be electing a healthcare dictator. And we will see politicians trot out the politically correct disease or the politically correct cure. And that's what the president will run on. That's not the United States of America. We won't get behind that. Because this is the greatest expansion, not only of entitlement programs, but when you are the brokest nation in the history of the world, which we are right now, we as Americans are too smart to stand for the largest new entitlement program that this country has ever seen. We're saying no. Two new entitlement programs alone will expand by over $1 trillion in spending that we don't have. And so all those printing presses and what the socialists intended to do to cede our authority from us. You see, in England, there was a king and there was a queen. And in the United States, James Madison and our founders look around, that each one of us would be the kings and the queens of this nation. We are the sovereigns. We are the sovereigns. And that's what sets us apart from every other nation in the world. Because power comes from us, not from this marble building behind us. That's why over 2 years ago, when even some in the Republican leadership said, it's too late, we've lost, we have to get used to this, they're now going to take over. We put a call out to you, and you answered. And over 40,000 Americans came and gathered here and there and all across these grounds and said, not with my health care, you don't. Not with my freedom, you don't. Not with my sovereignty, you don't. And you came. And on the nights, on March 21st, when Nancy Pelosi put the bill before the House of Representatives, and after one lie after another, that bill was passed. We were there working with our colleagues, begging and pleading, don't sign this bill. I found myself up on the second floor of the Capitol, and there's the East Grand Staircase, and many of you have been in our beautiful Capitol, and you've seen the painting that I'm about to refer to. It's called The Signing of the Constitution of America by William Chandler Christie. Go in, take a look at that magnificent painting. If it isn't in every child's school book, it should be in every child's school book. It depicts the signing of that Constitution. And when you look closer at the painting, it shows about half of the founders looking at Washington. And it shows about half of the founders looking at us. Those of us that are looking at the painting. And as we were there, many of us were on our knees praying that night, praying about what would happen. And as I came down the staircase, I looked at that painting and saw it in a different light than I'd ever seen it before. And it was almost as though Franklin was looking at me. And it was almost as though Gouverneur Morris was looking at me. And that Roger Sherman was looking at me, saying, look what we have given to you. We've given you a constitutional republic. You'll never know what it cost us to give you this. You'll never know the nights and the hours and the blood and the friends that we lost and the family and our fortunes that were literally cast down because of what we believed in. You will never know what we did for you. Won't you hold on to what we gave you? As I looked at that painting, that I would never forget what the founders did, and that together we would never allow them to triumph over our liberty. They would never prevail. And although that night when the bill passed, it was near midnight, I was in the well of the House floor, and I turned to one of my colleagues, Mike Pence, and I said, Mike, someone has to do something. We have to file a repeal bill. We can't let this stand. Mike said, well, Michelle, go for it. And so I called my staff, and it was after midnight, and we stayed up until we wrote the bill that night to repeal floor of Congress to introduce the bill. I slapped it down. This is our was you. We made a decision that we will not wave the white flag of surrender when it comes to liberty. It's been over 2 years now, and this is the day when they hear the individual mandate. And now the Supreme Court will hear from us. And the Congress will hear from us. And